Hello, everyone. So thanks for joining. And today we're really glad to have a really interesting and promising presentation by Kristina. So this is a project which came out of various collaborations, including WISE-ACT, and the key people are based in Slovenia. So Kristina was a key person, and then we have also Professor Jaka Sotnik, obviously. So Kristina Stojmenova Pececnik is a research associate at the Faculty of Electrical Engineering at the University of Ljubljana, and now she's completing her postdoc project on modeling driver situational awareness. So she has done lots of research about this, and that was the key input, but not the only one in this project. So she's an active researcher in the field of human-machine interaction, HMI, and direct cognitive modeling, also driver's data behavior evaluation and in-vehicle information systems. And of course, you also help a lot to develop this assessment, which hopefully can be used in different settings. And I think Kristina will mention this, but with no further ado, I'll just leave the floor to you, Kristina, then we can have a few minutes in the end for a Q&A.
Thank you, Nicholas, for the introduction, but also thank you for the opportunity, because Ready2Drive will not be live today if it wasn't for you. So without further ado, as Nicholas said, today I would like to present the Ready2Drive project, which was an international collaboration with multiple partners. And of course, I hope a lot of them are here today. If not, I'll thank them at the end. My name is Kristina. I work at the University of Ljubljana, but also I was an active part of Nervtech, which is an integral part of this project. And you will see and hear more about all of them later on. So why did we decide to actually do or focus on elderly drivers? Based on the World Health Organization, there are more than 12 million people that have died due to road accidents in only the past decade. And this is somewhat intriguing based on all of the actions that were actually taken upon to increase road safety and improve it significantly. I'm sure you all have heard already for Vision Zero, which is a project that was started almost 30 years ago in Scandinavia, then was adopted by the European Commission, and in the past decade has also spread worldwide, with currently highest, or at least most, actions occurring in the US. Vision Zero actually foresees that by 2050, there will be no longer any deaths on the road caused due to faulties of the vehicle or caused by the driver, because they believe that everything is preventable. However, we can still see that this vision is not achieved, even though the numbers are improving significantly. For example, the number of road fatalities in the younger group, which are the most risky, or it used to be thought are the most risky ones, have decreased by 43% only in the past 10 years. This is very a positive thing, a motivational thing, because until 10 years ago, this age group used to be the leading cause of road accidents and the highest number of deaths that were caused on the road. However, despite all of these actions and all of these positive outcomes so far, or positive numbers, the number of road fatalities for the age group of over 65 has kept on increasing. Now, although it says only 2%, compared to the significant decrease in all of the other age groups, this is a major alarm. At the moment, less than 20% of all drivers are elderly, but this is about to change very fast. This due to the fast urbanization, the increased number of vehicles, the easier access to mobility, and also by the rapidly increasing age or aging of the population. By 2030, the number of elderly population, and with that, the number of elderly drivers, is expected to surpass 30% of all of the world population. So what are we doing wrong? Why are we actually improving driving safety, preventing deaths on the most critical, or at least by now thought most critical groups, and we're failing to protect the elderly? there has to be something that we're doing wrong, and this is what actually motivated us to start thinking about Ready2Drive, or a project or any kind of action that will improve these numbers as well. To do this, we wanted first to, of course, understand what is driving and how is this connected to the problem we are trying to solve. So driving is a very dynamic task, and it involves multiple skills and capabilities. The obvious one, or the ones that we usually think about when we think of driving, are the driving skills. And this, of course, include the operation of the vehicle, which further includes knowing and following traffic rules and regulations, and interaction with other road participants. Driving skills, in order to be able to actually have them or build them, are based on top of functional skills, our basic functional skills. And these skills, of course, have range quite significantly, but for driving specifically, we rely on three groups of motor skills, sensory skills, and cognitive skills. Now, the motor skills are closely related to the actual operation of the vehicle. Well, we need to operate the steering wheel, operate the gearbox, and the pedals, everything that is needed for lateral and longitudinal control of the vehicle. Simultaneously, in order to be able to properly move the vehicle, we need sensory skills. And these skills, of course, primarily focus on the visual skills, and also include the tactile and auditory skills. Due to our sensory skills, such as vision, we can be able to see what is going on around us, using the mirrors, what is happening behind us. And a very important skill is the peripheral vision, which we don't actually pay a lot of attention unless, of course, something for the first time happens. So the peripheral vision is the one that gives us the whole view of what is going on around us. And with it, we can have an actual understanding and knowing what is going on around, be able to follow traffic rules and regulations, and interact with road participants. Lastly, the functional skills are built on cognitive skills. And these cognitive skills are actually the ones that combine everything together. Cognitive skills are skills such as attention, reasoning, logical thinking, and present a higher order of functional skills which combine everything in order that we not just perceive information, but process them and then take appropriate actions. So all of these functional skills are actually the position, or the first condition that needs to be fulfilled in order to start developing driving skills. Driving skills improve over time. So the longer we drive, the more situations we encounter, we become more experienced. And with that, of course, we improve our driving skills, unless we have specific personality traits and try to avoid this. Functional skills, on the other hand, start to decrease with age. So motor skills, sensory and cognitive skills, after a certain point of time, start to decrease and deteriorate. Of course, this is the extent that happens for every person is very different, but regardless, at one point of time, their decline starts to appear. So if we follow this logic, we can understand that everything that has been done by now to improve road safety was actually to improve driving skills, or vehicle that develop different kind of systems that can help the operation of the vehicle and reduce the need for high driving skills. However, there seems to be a lack on the improvement or actions to improve or keep the same level of skills or capabilities of functional skills, which start to decrease with age. And probably this is one of the major causes of why the road safety is increasing for every group, but unfortunately is stagnating, or even, as we saw, a bit lowering for the elderly groups. So this is what actually inspired us to start thinking about and developing Ready2Drive. We wanted to create some kind of a tool or a specific set of tasks that are going to help elderly drivers keep or maintain their driver skills as they are, or in our case, also to raise awareness about how dangerous it is actually once these kind of skills start to deteriorate. So the original idea was to perform these tasks in a driving simulator. There were different, of course, arguments of why to do so. Driving simulators enable a very realistic driving environment while keeping the drivers or the test participants in a very safe place. So here they could experience the same motor, sensory, and cognitive skills required for driving, and at the same time apply their driving skills in order to operate the vehicle. However, they would never be exposed to the dangers of the road. However, this idea or our plan was very soon stopped, or at least delayed due to COVID. And of course, we could no longer invite older people out of their homes to come in a driving simulator. At that time, actually, no one was even allowed to go outside. So we tried to make an adaptation by recreating the tasks that we wanted to do in the driving simulator in a video-based driving tasks. So the Ready2Drive survey or study would then, so instead of being performed in a driving simulator, take place online. It was composed out of 3 steps. So the first one would, of course, be checking the study eligibility. Because we wanted to really focus on elderly drivers, we invited only, or at least asked participants that are 60 years old or older. Then, if they would fulfill these criteria, and of course they have to be drivers, they would be asked to complete a demographic questionnaire with which we try to understand more about these drivers, what are their habits, what are their needs, and what are their driving experiences. We also ask them about their experiences with using digital technology, because we are aware that moving everything from an actual vehicle to online could have a significant impact on their results. If they passed this eligibility test and completed the full demographic questionnaire, then they would actually be able to take part in the survey and complete 2 online driving-based tasks. So there was also an additional step for everyone that finished the first 2 parts, and they were asked if they want to be included for a follow-up online interview where they could discuss the video tasks, they could talk about them and share their experience, their thoughts, and guided with an interviewer, gain more information about the raising awareness and the effects that this project had on our participants. So for the video-based driving tasks, we actually developed 2. The one was trying to assess situational awareness, and the other one, attention and response inhibition. Mainly, these tasks try to look at different cognitive skills. However, cognitive skills always rely, or at least require, some kind of motor and sensory skills when in a driving environment. So we try to actually approach or assess all of them at the same time. The first one was situational awareness. And to understand the task, probably I should say a little words of what situational awareness is. Situational awareness is simply knowing what is going on around you. And in a driving environment, this means knowing at all times what is the speed limit, what are the road participants that are around you and may affect your driving or your operation of the vehicle. Is there anything like, for example, weather conditions or road conditions that may affect the course of your vehicle, and be able to process all of this and then react accordingly. Now, for example, if you now look around yourself and you will be situationally aware of everything that is going on around the space that you are present in. However, in driving, where the task is so dynamic and the whole environment is so dynamic, this environment or everything that is surrounding us changes every 2 to 3 seconds. For example, if you think you're on the highway or on the motorway, then when you're driving at 130 kilometers per hour, your complete environment can change in only 5 seconds. That's why keeping situational awareness, it's very demanding. And if we think about that the cognitive skills can deteriorate with age, it can become a very complex task. So for this specific video task, we use the theoretical background of the situational awareness global assessment technique, which was actually developed by the proposer of the situational awareness theory. And it is a frame freeze technique. This means that in any case where used, the operator of a machine would be exposed to actually operating any kind of a machine, and then at a point of time, the process would stop, and an experimenter would ask them different questions about the machine and the environment. And these questions would already have a predefined set of correct answers. And then the extent of deviation of the predefined correct answers and the answers given by the operator of the machine would are considered some kind of a direct indicator of driver situational, of any kind of operator situational awareness, whereas in our case, that would be drivers, because the machine that our operators were operating was a vehicle. So in Ready2Drive, this was a approximately 4-minute long journey. It was based in the city center, in a busy city center, where the environment, although the speeds were not that high, would change quite frequently. The questions were, of course, adapted to driving and included vehicle and environmental related questions. An example is presented here on the screen. So, for example, the video will play for a while, and then it was freeze, and the driver would be asked, were there any vehicles on the road behind you? However, of course, they could no longer see the video, but it was blurred out. So they had to actually collect from their memory and then click. So here, if you can see, if they're behind you, this means that the person would have to not just monitor the road ahead, but also the mirrors, the rear mirrors, and then it would know that there was a vehicle behind them. For the second task, we actually wanted to look more about the attentional and response inhibition, which is also a higher order of cognitive skills. And this one does not only require visual attention, but also sustained attention. This means that in order to be aware of everything that is going on around us, we cannot pay attention to everything, but sometimes have to very strategically eliminate or do not pay attention to distracting stimuli. So if this is the part concerning attention, then we also need to look at the response, and this is response inhibition. So even now that we know that we do not have to pay attention to everything and to filter out all the distracting stimuli, we also need to respond to only the correct ones. So for example, when you're driving on a road, there may be different kind of billboards and other kind of distracting images or visual cues, but the driver has to, of course, pay attention only to the ones that are important for driving and be able to filter them out. So the response inhibition would be the ability to suppress any kind of action to inappropriate stimuli or stimuli that is not directly related to driving. So for this task, we also used a theoretical background on an established theory or method, and this goes for the go, no-go task, which is a task where drivers are presented different kind of stimuli, or which can differ in shape, color, and they can have multiple levels of complexity depending on the number of conditions the task is includes. So for example, the example that I showed before, here is just a single condition. If you see one dot, then press. If you see two dots, don't press the screen. This complexity can be further increased. For example, if you see a blue dot and it is just one, press. But if you see a blue dot But if you see any kind of other color of dot, or there are multiple dots, then do not press. So the conditions can increase significantly, and by that we can test the level of response inhibition for the participant to different levels of difficulty. The answers or the evaluations here are done in 3 ways, and that is counting the number of correct answers, the number of errors, and the number of omissions, because a participant or can always avoid answering if they do not feel secure about their answer, or in later stages or higher deterioration of response inhibition skills, they actually do not even notice the differences, and this shows a higher attention disorder that needs to be addressed. So in Ready2Drive, we again also for this task chose a 4-minute long journey. However, instead of in the city, we moved it to the motorway, where the speeds are a bit higher, and the environment does not change as much, but requires multiple changes in the changes of lanes from left to right in order to be able to implement a go, no-go task. So for this task, we decided to use 2 conditions, and that would mean that in every time that the video or the driver would have to change lane, they would change it by following the arrows that will appear in the left and the right rear mirrors. And these mirrors would actually display white or black arrows and white or black X's or X signs. The correct way would be always to follow the white arrow. So they would have to avoid their response would have to be stopped if they saw a black arrow or a white X, which may trigger response even though they're incorrect if the cognition or the cognitive skills required to do this are not at the level as they're supposed to be. Based on the theory, this is a medium level of complexity, so it's still a quite cognitively demanding and difficult task, which of course, again, differs a bit because it was done in a simulator rather than, it was done online rather than in a simulator in a real vehicle, which means that the drivers could actually focus only on the stimuli and not on the whole driving environment, something that we took into consideration when looking at the results. So the preliminary results show that 58 participants actually fully completed the online service. There were way more entries. However, some of them did not complete them. For example, they completed just for 1 video or stopped after the demographic questionnaire. And this was done intentionally because we did not want to bother anyone, and they had the option to stop whenever they wanted. Out of this 58 fully completed online service, we could see that for the situational awareness task, we received only, on average, 45% of correct answers. Now, the standard deviation also shows that there was very, very low number of participants that could complete this task by answering most of the tasks correctly. This means that unfortunately, even though it was done in a video, people find it, or at least elderly people find it hard to follow all of the dynamics of driving and all of the changing situations. We, of course, did exaggerate a bit in the number of things that would happen around and the elements that it would ask for. However, this is an indication that when creating new solutions, when, for example, creating different kind of assistive systems, we should work more on increasing the situational awareness to help elderly drivers to be able to follow it and help them with the driving task in general. When looking at the attention and response inhibition task, so this one is measured in with 3 different indicators. We could see that actually the correct answers here were quite high, or at least higher than for the first task. And on average, about 70% of all of the answers or all of the actions were correct. And I'm sorry about that. The incorrect number of answers was about 10%. However, we did realize that there were quite a lot of omissions, more than 25%, which is actually meaning that 1 in every 4 stimuli was omitted, again, showing a very high percentage of response inhibitions, or for this particular case, it was actually attentional inhibition, because they either did not notice them or responded to them for after a very long time. As for the online interview, almost 50% of all of the participants that completed both videos signed up for the follow-up interview. However, I do not have these results, but I'm pretty sure that the colleagues from Surrey would share them in a short time. Now, as for the next steps, these tests were primarily developed for raising awareness about the dangers of road safety, and especially raising awareness about the functional skills necessary for driving that can deteriorate or can be worsened with aging. That's why these tests were not validated, and the next step would be to validate them with healthy drivers. What does that mean? Is that now we're just reporting of how many people actually completed the task right or wrong. However, we do not have the scale. For example, what is the norm that a person needs, or the threshold that the person needs to achieve in order that we say, okay, so this person has a sufficient situational awareness skills or sufficient attentional skills in order to operate the vehicle. We would also like to include more scenarios that will first address different kind of functional skills and driving skills, and also would feature different kind of automated vehicle features. So not just identify what is lacking, but maybe also help elderly drivers with following the trends of development in the automotive field. Maybe they could practice the introduction of new road signs, or practice introduction of new advanced adaptive systems in the vehicle, anything that would help them work on their functional and driving skills. Lastly, we would, of course, want to implement these tasks in an actual driving simulator, which was our initial idea. The reason behind this is, of course, to increase significantly the immersiveness, the reality of the test itself, and to allow for more focus on the motoric and sensory skills as well. Here you can see on the video a version of such a driving simulator that enables this kind of tasks, and this is the Nervtech driving simulator that is already in use in the biggest rehabilitation center here in Slovenia for assessment of driving skills of elderly drivers. So implementation of this kind of tasks in a simulated real vehicle will probably give us better results and more in-depth overview of what are the lacking skills for elderly drivers and what we should do in order to help them improve them, or at least maintain them in the long run. So as Nicola said at the beginning, this was a collaborative project led by University of Surrey in collaboration with Nervtech, which is a company for developing simulators, and also researchers from University of Ljubljana contributed to it as well. This project was kindly supported by multiple partners and networks, and we're very happy for all of their support and valuable input. And if you would like to hear more about Ready2Drive after today, please go and check out the webpage or get in touch via email or any kind of social media channel. That would be it.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Kristina. That's very insightful. I'm very glad you managed to summarize everything. We're just, within this short amount of time. So thank you very much.